Local businesses put a significant amount of revenue back into the economy, and that ensures a multiplier effect and a positive growth of the economy. It also ensures a sustainable future for all of us, because through job creation, we all have a better future for ourselves and our family in this country. The products that have the Team Namibia seal or the service that carries the logo on their corporate stationery and branding are actually fit for purpose. I would now like to talk about the Team Namibia membership structure. We've developed this over an extensive period of time. We worked with various experts in the industry to come up with a membership structure, and we also tested it extensively in the marketplace before launching it to Team Namibia members. You need to look at the different categories and see where you best fit in. First of all, we encourage a company to register as a business, and that endorses you as a Team Namibia member. The first category is for a company or a business that is registered in Namibia, but the ultimate head office is not in Namibia. The second category is for a company that has its ultimate head office in Namibia. It can be a small company, it can be a big company, it doesn't matter, but it's a Namibian built brand. Then we have retailers, a very, very important role player in Team Namibia's campaign. Without retailers, the Namibian products would not get to the consumer. So retailers is dealt with separately, because we're asking retailers for two things. If they want to be part of Team Namibia, they must be willing to merchandise the products extensively in their stores. And secondly, they must identify Team Namibia members in the broadsheet advertising. The final category is for associate members. So that would be for a company that does not meet the criteria for any of the other categories, but they would like to be part of the membership in order to be upskilled and get best practice, in order to get them incentivized and qualified to be part of the Team Namibia membership. So those companies at this point would not carry the logo. We would give them a period to actually prepare themselves to become members. Manufactured products. We need to enlist the products separately, because this is the section where we need to ensure that the products are fit for purpose. So we would ask a business to enlist each of their SKUs with Team Namibia, so that we can police and make sure that all the products qualify, first of all, for the logo, and that it is used correctly in the marketplace. And then finally, we have a section called Strategic Partners, very important stakeholders for Team Namibia. Those would be the likes of boards, associations, regulators, watchdogs, etc., etc. With a strategic partner, Team Namibia would typically have a memorandum of understanding, and they would be a supporter of Team Namibia. All right, so now talk to us about the rationale of the weightings.
Okay, we have split it up as we discussed the categories just now. Ownership 25%. It is a significant portion, but it doesn't overweigh the process. The main focus was on how do you spend your money, because we want to see how committed are you to the economy at this stage. And there we're looking at the labor expenses 35%, because it's easier to look at the unemployment and try to combat that. And the preferred suppliers with 30%. So if you are very committed in these two categories, you can already score up to 65%.
Wow.
So the main focus is on that, and every company can sort of manage their expenses independently. So it doesn't matter who your ownership is or what your share listing looks like.
This is what we stand for.
That's where the focus is.
Completely. Okay.
Then the last is the support time, where you give a 10% bonus. So there's a 10% weighting to it, because it shouldn't overshadow the other categories. But there should be a benefit for putting in some effort there.
Exactly.
So if you're lacking a little bit, that's where you can push up. It's your bonus point, so to say, in the exam. Your easy marks.
I think we should talk about the scoring, because this is obviously completely new.
Yes.
Before, members did not have to fill out a scorecard in order to apply for membership.
You look at your shareholding and you get a percentage from that. So if you have a 60% ownership, then you know which category you fall in, and you can relate to that. Just looking at the list, you can see that a 60% would be a 3 out of 5. So that way you can translate it into the score, and then you apply the weighting to see your total at the end.
Okay,
So
it's very simple indicator.
It's very simple.
You know, okay, I've got 60%, so this is your indicator, you choose.
Yes.
Okay.
And then there's a little bit of a difference when we come to the preferred suppliers, because that's a small little formula where you have 100% of your expenses on Namibian companies.
Love those members who do that.
Plus then
Yes.
150% on Team Namibian members. So if you spend 100 Namibian dollars on a Namibian company,
Okay.
then you can put that down as 100.
Okay.
If you spend, however, 100 Namibian dollars on a Team Namibia member, you
Yes.
put down 150. So there you
Great
get that
stuff.
50% for free
Bonus.
bonus. But it's always important to note that you cannot get more than the allocated weighting. So if you spend 100 Namibian dollars on Team Namibia product,
Yes.
and that 100 is the only thing you spend,
Yes.
you cannot get more than 30% of the weighting.
Okay, so it's capped.
you get a maximum of 100%
Yes.
for that category.
Okay.
And that gets
Yes.
weighted.
Okay.
So
It's gotta be
also with the time,
proportionate.
we have allocated 10% per management time hour. So if you spend 20 hours, it doesn't mean that you can get your weighting up
Yes.
to 20%. You
Yes.
still be capped at the 10% for
Okay.
that category.
Okay. So show us exactly how you would put that into context.
Yes, there's 60% ownership from South African side.
Okay.
So it's only 40%
40% Namibian.
because
Okay.
20% is my shareholding.
Okay.
And 20% is from a Namibian investor. And we'll see it's bigger than 30, but less than 50.
Okay.
So we still only get the 2 out of 5, which is a 40%.
You don't get half
score.
points.
You don't get half points
Okay.
at this stage.
Okay. So that is 2 out of 5.
So you get 2 out of 5 for ownership.
Okay.
Then the next one is the labor expenses. So we have, obviously we get a salary, plus then we employed 7 local workers, of which 2 are on a managerial level.
Okay.
So the 4 of us form the executive team. We have 2 managers in place, and then still 5 employees.
Okay.
So the total salary for everyone is 3.1 million
Okay. Per annum, right?
per annum. This is
Namibian
not
dollars.
Namibian dollars. So
Okay.
this is for the total year, everything included, basic
Okay.
salaries, benefits. The company works on a total cost to company,
Cost to company.
package.
Okay.
It will depend from different members how they declare it, but the easiest way to find your salaries and wages expenses go to your financial statements.
Yes.
It's very unlikely that someone who's applying to be a Team Namibia
Yes.
member doesn't have annual financial statements.
Isn't
because
that a
the
bit dodgy
criteria-
not to have?
Yes,
in-
because the criteria is also quite stringent. So you have to have a certain revenue, you have to have a certain number of employees. So if you don't have financial statements by that time, your business shouldn't be running.
Or
So-
registered as a business.
Exactly.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
everyone who applies to be a Team Namibia member must have financial statements.
Okay.
Even if it's not fully audited, so even if it's just something that is being done by an accountant or a bookkeeper,
Okay.
that's fine.
But now let's go back to our example. We have 1.6 million over 3.1 million. Now we need to get to a percentage.
Yes,
Okay.
this equates to 51 or 52%.
52%.
Yes,
Okay.
we'll use 52%. We go back to the scorecard and we can see it's bigger than
Perfect.
50%. So you'll get the 3 out of 5
3 out of 5 in that section.
for the labor expenses.
Okay.
For preferred suppliers, in my example, we have a total of 5 million spent on
Supply.
operational cost
Okay.
per annum again. So the operational expenses in my example amount to 5 million per year. And again, with companies that are small, it's maybe difficult to find out who's a Namibian business, where are their expenses going. So the best way I would recommend here is to get in contact with Team Namibia, just find
Absolutely.
out who are the members, look at the preferred suppliers list, and every big company will have a preferred supplier list where you have the account allocation then. So
Exactly.
there again, the bookkeeper or the accountant can just sum up the different accounts
Yes. Exactly.
and see where the split goes.
And of course, the Ministry of Trade and Industry holds a database of all the Namibian companies, so it's easy to verify at least whether they're
Yes.
Namibian or not
Yes.
that way. Okay.
So again, here you can either state it in amounts or you can give a rough percentage.
Okay.
It's also not that important that you know exactly whether it's now 50% or 50.002%,
Okay.
because the
You've got
calculator
indicators, yeah.
the calculator is relatively rigid in that sense.
Mm.
So even if you have 55% or 50%, it's not that much of an issue,
Okay.
as long as the general region can be justified.
Okay.
The formula here will be 1 million spent on Namibian companies
Okay.
plus 1 million on Team Namibia members,
Mhm.
so you'll get 1.5 million for that.
Okay. Just talk us through that example again, how you got to 1.5 million for Team
That will be
Namibia
the
members.
1 million times
Yes.
the 150%,
Exactly.
and then you'll get 1.5 million.
That's a great
So
bonus.
in
yes.
total, you will have a percentage of 50% because you have 1 million plus 1.5 million is
2.5 million
2.5 million.
over
Over
5
the
million?
5 million is 50%.
Okay.
And
Right.
that rating will immediately give you your score.
Okay.
So the 50% will then go directly into the weighting for
Okay.
the calculation.
Great.
Then what
Support
this
time.
company has decided is that we'll give 2 hours of each management or executive member. So
Great.
that will total into 12 hours over the year.
Okay.
And that will give us full rating on the support time, because 10% per hour, as soon as you have more than 10 hours, you get the full rating for that.
Okay.
So you have 100% for the support time.
What are the most important factors for you when choosing a product or service? And quality came out every time. It is so important for consumers. Consumers are very clever, and they know when they spend money, they want to ensure that they get value for money through quality. So Team Namibia recognizes that, and also if we set ourselves out to be an organization that wants to incentivize Namibian companies to be more competitive and gain a sustainable competitive advantage for Team Namibia members, we need to ensure that we practice what we preach. So what we have done here is we looked at standards that already exist. Again, it's very important to say that standards are voluntary, but again, if you want to be a member of Team Namibia, you actually have to submit quality assurance documents. So that ensures that the products are locally made and they are safe and of good quality through the Team Namibia endorsement. So for products, we encourage members to look in the handbook and look at the standards that are applicable to each of the sections. The Namibian Standards Institution is a very important stakeholder for Team Namibia, has all the information available on standards in Namibia, but again, we leave it very open and ask our members to come back to us with examples of their standards to ensure that they meet the criteria. So for products, we would look at standards applicable to a specific product. So it could be a standard for bottled water, for example. So we leave it open to you and see what you come back with. Okay, Armin, so now we know that company X made the criteria for membership as per the scorecard. But as you pointed out, there are other criteria that they also need to qualify for. If this particular company has products, all the products must be listed separately with Team Namibia for 2 reasons. First of all, we need to know that each product meets the right qualification criteria, particularly to ensure that the products are fit for purpose, but then also that the Namibian component is intact. We've had criticism in the past where people say, you know, some of the products that are listed as Team Namibia members actually has no Namibian component associated with it, and that actually sends out the wrong message. So Team Namibia had to compile a benchmark where we can actually quantify the Namibian component. And rather than reinventing the wheel, we decided to go with country of origin criteria, which is based on the SADC country of origin rules. I know that is only for export purposes, but in a way, if our strategy at Team Namibia is to make our members more competitive, then it's actually a good thing to get into the mindset of export ready. It's not to say that the products have to be exported, but it's a good principle to start to instill with members. So this, I know, can seem very complicated. There are 3 aspects of origin criteria. The first one is wholly obtained. So it's literally if it comes from the soil or the sea or
Yes.
whatever, it is by default a Namibian product. But then we get to the value added standard. And this, for me, again, seemed very complicated, the formula. I don't know if you can maybe, with your expertise, just talk us through that formula.
Again, the formula actually isn't that complicated. Once you wrap your mind around it, it's not that difficult. But that every company should do from a planning perspective anyways. So if you sell your product, you need to know how much cost goes into that product. So that's where your product costing comes in. So if you start off with a product which costs you 10 Namibian dollars.
So that's what the consumer would pay in store?
No, that is not what the
okay.
consumer would pay. That is
Yeah.
your factory cost.
Okay.
So the retailer would still put a margin onto it. Probably even the company that produces it would still put a margin onto
Okay.
it. So this is just the cost to the factory or the producer.
Right,
So you have the $10 as the X factory price.
right.
$2 of this was from imported material.
Okay.
So that can be either your
Textiles
garment or your
imported from
textile.
China or
Exactly.
whatever. Okay.
Then you just subtract the 2 from the 10, leaving
Okay.
you with 8.
$8.
Over the X factory price, which is the 10, giving you a score of 80%.
Okay. Because now, they say the value of non-originating materials on the finished product should not exceed 60% of the X factory price, or the value addition should be at least 40% of X factory price.
Yes. So all this means is that at least 40% needs to be of Namibian origin.
Okay. And then the third category here is change of tariff heading. So it means that the intervention that took place in Namibia changed it from one category to another,
Yes.
which is obviously value addition.
Yes.
First of all, we have ownership. I'm thinking there that someone can probably just send the relevant page in the annual financial statements. Is that
Well,
right?
about the supporting documents in general is we try to make it as easy as possible.
Okay.
So we're not trying to find information that
Yeah.
not readily
Yeah,
available.
that's not our
If
interest.
you have a registered company, these supporting documents should be in place because you need it for your company.
Okay.
If you have a public set of annual financial statements, most of the information will be in there as well. So if we look at the ownership criteria, you will always have either a memorandum of incorporation, or you will
Yes.
have a business registration or share certificate,
Mm.
what your share issue is.
Okay.
So that needs to be part, when you register your company, there needs to be that in place.
Yes,
So
of course.
you would just have to hand in a copy of that, or as you mentioned in the financial statements,
Yes.
some companies disclose it in there as well, what their ownership split looks like.
And I suppose they can also send a letter from the auditor to verify this.
Definitely.
Okay.
So most annual financial statements will be audited as well.
Of course.
If you are a big company, what you can do is you can just engage your auditor to write you a separate letter just detailing all of these criteria
Okay.
on one go, and you can hand in that letter to Team Namibia, verifying
makes
all
sense.
steps at
Yeah.
the same
So
time.
you don't need 4 letters, 1 letter verifying all the different
Exactly.
aspects. Okay. But again, let's look at other examples to verify labor expenses, which is the next element, supporting
Yes.
documents for scorecard labor expenses.
So there again, a company will have a record of what their salary and wages account looks like.
Okay.
Either you can supply Team Namibia with a copy of your payroll extract, if you use an accounting system or VIP system, you can just make a copy from that and hand it in, or again with the auditor just verifying that the percentage you indicated is correct, or that the amounts you've indicated are verified.
Okay, and I know that you can also get that one line in the annual financial statements as
Yes,
well.
but that will usually just be the total salary and wages,
Yes,
so you
true.
won't have the Namibian split.
Yes, so it must
So-
be verified by an auditor
Yes.
or accountant. Okay. Then we look at the suppliers. I suppose most companies have a supplier or a preferred supplier list, right?
Most companies of that size will have a preferred suppliers
Yes.
list, because it also goes with good governance, just checking
Of
that
course.
members don't, or that the accountant doesn't just buy from anywhere,
Yes.
that there isn't the favoritism,
Yes.
buying from your cousin, even
Exactly.
though the price. So you will have a
Yes.
preferred supplier list. You will have your accounts detailing to that.
Yes.
So you can just again have an account statement, giving the details of all the suppliers. And what you can do beforehand is just check whether the supplier is a Team Namibia member.
And we can
Again,
provide
either
that
contacting
service. Yes.
the office here or going through the directorates.
Yes, exactly. Because it's
themselves.
really simple for us. If someone sends us their preferred supplier list, we can easily verify which ones are Team Namibia members.
And there are all your municipality accounts, your water bill, your electricity. That
Yes.
will all be summarized in one go, and then you can just
Exactly.
indicate that this is a Team Namibia
Yes.
supplier.
It's actually a good point you mentioned utilities, because the likes of NAM Water and NAM Power are Team Namibia
Yes.
members, so you can already score 150% easily just
On
through
those
that.
expenses,
Yes, exactly. Okay. And then I think the next section is support time. A letter would suffice there. To
Yes.
say, we give, like as per your example, the 4 directors would each give X amount of hours per annum.
Exactly.
And then Team Namibia can then look at your company credentials and decide how we can use your time most effectively to promote Team Namibia.
Yes. Obviously, the idea behind that is the promise that you are making, but
Yes.
you'll need something in writing
Yes,
to commit to that.
exactly.
So it does. That support document doesn't need to be audited or
No,
verified by anyone.
we take
It's
your
just
word
that
for
Team
it.
Namibia can go
Yes.
at the end of the year and say, well, you
Yes.
haven't really lived up to your promise.
True. Yes, and we will obviously have a spreadsheet internally where we say, okay, X company committed to 10 hours, so
This
it's
is what
also
they
up to
have
us
used.
to make sure that we utilize the
Exactly.
time. Okay, so the next part is confirmation of number of employees.
Yes. Here again, the accountant will have a detailed list of who the payroll goes out to.
Okay.
So it's easy to confirm that, just the number of this.
Okay.
And again, here you just have the threshold.
Mm-hmm.
So usually you will just be required to show that you have more than 5 employees.
Okay. Yes,
that is
exactly.
fairly
As per the
easy
criteria.
For most
Yes. And
companies.
how do we verify whether an employee is part-time versus full-time or temporary?
Again, this would be the onus of the company to secure that. Also, the level of Namibianness. So there we had some discussions. If someone comes in on a temporary residence, is that a Namibian employee? Not. So here we have decided that only permanent residents, and if you marry someone who's Namibian, then you
Yeah, fair
qualify
enough. Yes.
as a Namibian citizen.
Yes. That's important to note here.
Companies usually collect this data of all their employees, so they will have that available as
Okay. A certificate of business registration is done through the Ministry of Trade and Industry, so we just literally need a copy of the
Exactly.
certificate. Letter from company auditor verifying the applicant's membership fees. Again, there we don't need to know exactly what the annual turnover is of that organization. We just need to know that they fall in, what the percentage is that they need to pay. So if we go back to the membership criteria, in this case it was category 1. The cost for Team Namibia membership. Fees are calculated as 0.5% of annual company revenue, limited to a maximum of 100,000 per year.
Yes.
Can you just talk us through that process?
So again, what we had in the example right there, I said the company had a revenue of 9 million.
Yes.
So then the example will work out as
Fees are calculated at 0.1% of annual company revenue, limited to a maximum of 100,000 per year.
yes. So for the company example we used just now, I had a revenue of 9 million for the company. So we take 0.1% of the
Okay.
9 million, which equates to 9,000.
Okay.
So then the annual membership fee will be 9,000 for the
9,000.
year.
That's really straightforward. Yes.
Exactly.
But if the company has an extensive turnover that goes into millions or billions,
Yes.
we know that it's capped at 100,000.
Exactly. So
Yes.
if you hit the limit of 10 million, then you know you will not pay more than that.
Yes, exactly, per annum. And the payments can also be done in installments throughout the year. We also have that option.
Fantastic.
And companies can also choose a new billing cycle. So if you want to pay, in February before year end or whatever, you are most welcome to choose a new billing cycle. And then we have a quality assurance certificate. That brings us back to page 21, which means that for products or the manufacturing sector or the service sector, we have indicated examples of quality assurance certificates that one can submit with the application to ensure that the company is sound and fit for purpose. We can really make a massive change in the country through the brand campaign that we are planning for next year, which leads us closer to our vision, which is to make Namibian products and services part of everyday life.